Welcome to Fun is Fundamental. Fun is Fundamental is a podcast for those who realize that the enjoyment of life is about having something deep in our souls which lights our fire. It's for those who maybe have lost that fire and feel like they are missing out on the pleasures of life. In each episode, I will share recent fun activities and focus on why having fun is essential for good health. I'm your host, Alenia, and I invite you to take this journey with me and join the pleasure-seeking movement. Hi, welcome to Fun is Fundamental, and today I'm going to kind of talk about the play personalities, and I kind of want to start having at least part of some episodes maybe where I give some more ideas of things that you could do if you have different play personalities, partly because I started this podcast partly for myself, but also to be doing fun things to give other people some ideas, and I haven't been doing that many things, partly with just my new schedule. Like, I only have Saturday off when other people have a day off, things like that. It just hasn't been happening as much as it should and how much I want it to. And so I figure if I just kind of throw out some ideas, it's like, hey, if you're an explorer, maybe try this. Just in case anyone is kind of stuck with maybe doing the same things and need a little bit more feelings of things being novel, I guess. Even though, I trust that you can be creative, but it does help for like sometimes things to come from an outside place. Anyways, first I'm going to go over each of the play personalities with a little bit more description. I went to National Institute for Play, which is where Dr. Stuart Brown works. And then talking a little bit more about each of the play personalities, because I feel like maybe it wasn't like a very full description of everything that they might encompass potentially. Okay, it starts with like the collector, and they get a thrill from collecting interesting things, objects or experiences, not just objects. They use like the example of like Jay Leno. He likes to collect cars. It's just about anything that a person can like kind of identify with, but they also, obviously, I talked about objects a lot, but they also can collect experiences. They use an example like someone who travels the world to see solar eclipses, which I've seen one solar eclipse and it's amazing. Oh my God. So I get that. And, there's just certain things that feeling of awe, so I understand like wanting to pursue something like that. Either way, anyway, obviously I'm not judging what people choose to collect. So I don't know why I'm putting that in there. So that is about the collector. Also, the collector maybe will connect with other people that enjoy collecting the same things, so that it becomes a more communal kind of activity. Competitor, obviously people in sports, people that also, there's obviously like the huge community of people who play video games professionally. Yeah, that they really enjoy that. Also, people that are like super fans, that they can be competitive. Like they're like, they're so passionate about this competition. Someone who's a champion chess player probably enjoys competition. Obviously, like I said, anyone who plays sports would be enjoy the pursuit of becoming better and winning and things like that. Then there's the artist slash creator. You can obviously do art like creative physical art, like, you know, a painter or something like that. But there's also other physical things that you can make, clothing. And then they, you know, use the example of like Steve Jobs. He was, you know, a creator. He was an artist. It's just what he was using as a medium is different than what you consider an artist usually. But yeah, they say, so on here they say the point is it's to make something beautiful, something functional, something goofy, you just want to create something. You know, someone who likes to work with their hands, it would be a creator, you know. And someone, you know, these people are just like people that have like a vision and the capabilities to make that vision come true, I guess is what I would say. Next, they have the director on here. This is someone who likes planning. They enjoy the planning and the, you know, executing and the event. I am someone who enjoys that. And then it says, though many are unconscious of their motives and style of operating, they love the power to make things happen. They are born organizers. At their best, they are the party givers, the planners of great excursions, the dynamic centers of their social worlds. Apparently, at worst, they are manipulators. All the world's a stage, and the rest of us are merely players in the director's game. I definitely am. I love the the anticipation, the planning. I love getting people together. So I'm definitely a director. I hope no one has ever seen me as being a manipulator. So, although sometimes I'm like, I want to, you know, I want to direct a movie. And so in that way, maybe you're kind of being a manipulator. I don't know. They say some examples are Ina Garner, who's the Barefoot Contessa, Oprah Winfrey. I mean, she's like one of the biggest directors ever. She's built a huge empire. So, yeah. Then they have the explorer. Exploration. So explorers, people like Anthony Bourdain, Richard Branson, and Jane Goodall. So you can be someone who wants to physically explore things or emotionally, searching for new feelings or to deepening the familiar through music, movement, or even flirtation is what they said. Exploration can be mental, such as researching a new subject or seeking new points of view. So yeah, both my husband and I, both Casey and I, are both explorers, both physically, but also I think like we're always like just trying to be like he's more focused on his mental exploration, but I definitely think that we're both like always being like, oh, this is like I learned this new thing, like, you know, just being really curious. So yeah, I think if you're very curious, I would say you were an explorer. So yeah. Then there is the Joker, and I mean, obviously they are pretty self-explanatory. They have fun being foolish and silly. They like, you know, we're the class clown, like to make people laugh. And obviously, like people that like to do practical jokes. Like they talk about George Clooney. He is was, a notorious practical joker. And, obviously any stand-up comedian is a joker. All sitcoms, this one's more self-explanatory than some of the other ones. So, the kinesthetic, is that how you say it? They are obviously people who like to move. And they say some even need to move in order to think. So, like, definitely, like, kids in school, the ones that are, like, always, like, really fidgety, have a hard time in school because it's really seen as being, like, distracting and, like, oh, there's something wrong with them, like they have ADHD or something like that. But, like, that's just how some people think, and, maybe that means that they need, like, they just need different ways to learn, right? But, obviously athletes can be that also. They talk about Serena Williams, Seth Curry, and also people like Gillian Lynn, who is a famous choreographer. These people naturally want to push their bodies and feel the result. They may play football, practice yoga, dance, or jump rope to access the joy and openness of play. They might play sports. Competition is not the main focus. It is a way of engaging in movement. So, yeah, I'm sure that there are some athletes that it's not about competition for them. It's just they love to move their bodies. So, and then there is the storyteller. For storyteller, imagination is key to the joys of play. Storytellers can be, novelists, playwrights, cartoonists, screenwriters, or they may find their greatest joy in reading the novels and watching movies. Storytellers feel engaged in stories and experience the thoughts and emotions of characters in the story. Performers of all sorts are storytellers, creating imaginative world through acting, dance, lectures, or magic tricks. Oh, I did a magic show. It's a very short magic show, but I did a magic show the other day for the folks at the assisted living home that I work at. And anyway, that was yesterday. So, but I didn't know that this, it could be considered a storytelling for me to do magic tricks. I don't know. It was fun though. Silly, but fun. It says, because imagination is the realm of the storyteller, they can bring play to almost any activity. They may be playing a recreational game of tennis, but in their mind, each point is a scene and an exciting drama. Where a competitor is in it to win it, the storyteller just wants to have an exciting match. All right. Wow, was that all 8? Okay, because that was all 8. Okay, so I tried to come up with maybe a few outside the box ideas to expand on, or new things to try for each of the play personalities. So first one was collector. This one was actually the hardest one for me to come up with things, because usually, like, someone already has, like, their items or experiences that they're passionate about collecting. So to expand on it, it's more of like how to, share it with other people and stuff like that. I thought, like, learning to love the researching of it, and learning the background and stories of your collectibles, and also to find others who collect the same or similar things or experiences, and share your favorite things and experiences with them. Another thing was, if you collect experiences, to find ways to share them with others through a website or scrapbook, and then also to, like, send postcards from your adventures. And then my other idea was to find fun ways to display physical display objects, and to actually invite people to show off your collection. So that was all that I could think of for collector, and yeah, it definitely was a harder one for me to come up with ideas, I think, because it already feels like very like self-contained, and I guess I maybe I don't understand enough to like understand the places it can go and to like expand it. I don't know. Anyway, competitor, I thought of like, setting up games of like classic, silly, fun games like capture the flag, freeze tag, musical chairs, like, backyard Olympic things like the wheelbarrow and three-legged race, stuff like that. Um, just figure that'd be fun. Besides obviously like doing actual sports. And of course, like there's so many minute-to-minute games that you can like just get people together and set them up in your house. And usually it's like with cheap objects that you use, like plastic cups and things like that. So that, of course, would be fun for a competitor, and probably even like a lot of your friends that are not competitors, just because it can get really silly and stuff like that. And then also I thought of like, maybe creating like an obstacle course, or like a floor is lava kind of course kind of thing. That would be, another fun, non-serious way to create competition with your friends. And then, for people that aren't like as physically fit or agile, or just don't want to do more physical sporty things, to host like a lip sync battle, or to do like the escape room, or maybe do like a name that tune game at your house, like things like that. Yeah, those are just some of the ideas that I came up with maybe for the competitor. Obviously, I'm sure there's a hell of a lot more. So then for the artist or creator, I realize I should maybe call it a creator more often, because I think people think of the artist as just being for art, but the creator has more widespread, things that you could create. Obviously, as a naturally creative person, you may not need more inspiration, but in case you've hit a block, we've heard of artist blocks, right? Or you're just kind of doing the same thing all the time, which obviously there's joy and importance of repetition, but maybe you want to try something else, and maybe you want to find things to do with other people. Anyway, so here's a few ideas. Using unusual tools to do art, or to use found objects. And personally, I love getting messy when I do art. So like the unusual objects, I just like was like, oh man, I can imagine like this could get like really messy maybe. But yeah. And then I thought with like, if you have a get together, you could you guys can write a song together maybe. Or you could have like a paper plane making contest, bake offs kind of thing. Or you guys can make up a game together. Things like that. And then there's more obvious things like hosting paint nights, or making terrariums or dioramas or tie-dye, or making jewelry, like things like that, like get-togethers around that. And then for those that are maybe like a little bit more like into like doing things technical, there's a lot of like STEM things, and I know like some of them are made for like kids, but still you could get people together and with these and have a really fun time, get like robotic things together, and or Legos, like a Lego like party. That would be so much fun. Like, who doesn't love Legos at all ages, So yeah, there's a lot of very different things that you can do to expand your ways of being creative and to invite your friends in on it as well. All right, for the director, they're the person that loves to plan, of course. So obviously throwing different kinds of parties, different themes, having a luau, of course, murder mystery, or a trivia night. Those are some ideas. Obviously planning adventures out with friends, like camping trips, a treasure hunt, or to find, to like go and like find like your town's oddities, like maybe have a list of the things and you just go find them, or, maybe you're trying to make the best picnic ever, you know, like I really love like the images of like picnics on Pinterest and like in Instagram and things like that because they're just so beautiful, Oh, and then I thought, you could always set up like volunteering together. You could set up some sort of drive or something like that. And then, of course, you could start some sort of club, book club, maybe like an art club, gaming, or just like a social club or an official meetup group. Those are just some ideas. All right, for the Explorer. The Explorer, I feel like, is another one that maybe doesn't need a lot of help finding ways to explore because they're naturally curious already. But, here's a few ideas anyway. Exploring your hometown. Like, for me, because I live in, the Seattle area, it's easy for me to, like, go and pick a neighborhood that, I haven't really spent much time in and just, like, walk around and hang out and stuff like that. Obviously, some people's towns are a lot smaller, so it would probably be more of a just checking out like a specific place, like restaurant or park that you've never been to. Do a scavenger hunt, even if it's not like super planned out. Like you could still like easily be like, okay, we're looking for these things, and like definitely a lot of common things that like you could just put on the list kind of thing. And or like having some sort of competition with your friends to like find something in a store or around town that is of interest kind of thing. You could go to a restaurant that specializes in a cuisine you've never had, or cook a recipe from a foreign place that especially if it's one that you want to visit one day. And then for people that are like really wanting like more of the mental as opposed to physical exploring, find things that you don't really experience most of the time, like listen to some new music, new genre, new band, read a new author, watch a different genre of movie than you usually watch, or something from a different country or a different era. If you don't watch a lot of old movies, like just like look up what are some of the best like film noirs or something like that, and just like even just watch 3 film noirs and just expand what you have experienced, kind of thing. All right, for the Joker, there's very obvious things like going to comedy shows, improv, taking a comedy or improv class, obviously watching funny movies, watching stand-up comedy, but maybe some things that are not the super obvious, wear something interesting or silly in public and just see how people react. Wear a top hat and just see how people look at you. Maybe if you're hanging with your friends, like sing everything that you say for an hour or the whole afternoon. Or if you don't sing, break out an accent. Try your hand at a British accent for the afternoon. Or if you've wanted to try stand up maybe, but you are nervous to try it in front of a real audience, maybe set up a little comedy show in your own house with your friends and family and, come up with like a routine and maybe see if others want to kind of come up with a routine too. Because, when you're surrounded by people that love you, there's definitely less, I would hope that there's less pressure to be perfect. They're going to support you anyway, kind of thing. So, why not try your hand at it? All right, and then there's the kinesthetic. Either way, either one of those word, wherever you type it, thinks it's spelled wrong. So I don't know, like, they have, it's like kinesthetic. I thought it was kinesthetic. Either way, the word does not want to accept it as a real word. So for that one, maybe do some classic games like tag, Red Rover, Mother May I, Red Light, Green Light. In the summer, have a water balloon fight or do slip and slide. Those are just some ideas of being outside of just going for walks or hikes, which, obviously are great because it gets you out in nature, but this is like stuff you could do with your friends and have fun. Also, you could have a dance party with your friends and family and, just don't worry about looking cool. Just like with the Joker, it's like, these are people that love you. You can look like a fool. It's okay. Also, if you're feeling daring, you can choreograph a routine and record it. You don't have to post it to TikTok unless you want to, but it's still just like something fun you can have for yourself. And like, just, a couple of years from now, you look back at it and you're just like, you can laugh at it and it's great. I remember a friend showing me a video of her and her friends when they had, that Leslie Hall song, Tight Pants, and they choreographed a dance for it. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so delightful. Like, I just loved it so much. And, obviously I love that she felt comfortable to show me, kind of thing. And then one of the last things, you can, try a new class. Like, go to a trapeze class or pole dancing or do some goat yoga or, there's just so many like ideas and options and, ways to move your body. So yeah, just try some different things. All right. And then for the storyteller, maybe just expanding what you're consuming. Explore movies and books from other cultures and different eras that you don't know as much about, and look for the universal themes like emotions. Those things, those cultures, those eras, they're not as different as we sometimes want to feel like they are. Host a conversation night. We had one conversation night where we had like this big topic to talk about, and we kind of would like try to keep it, go off on tangents, but like try to come back to be like, oh well, what about this, like different aspects of that topic kind of thing. Or have a dinner party and have conversation cards. Also, if you don't want to host, you can join a supper club. There was like one thing that I saw that was called, there's a company from San Francisco called Good People Dinners, and it's a community built around meaningful conversations and, of course, eating. But yeah, I guess they now do supper clubs in different places now, and you can sign up for invitations to them. But yeah, it's just like such a cool idea of having, not small talk, but big talk, at, your next dinner party kind of thing. And I mean, obviously, like when you're with like close people, sometimes you get big talk, but with people that you don't really know, that's the thing with the good people. It's like sometimes you're going to have people that you don't really know, but they're just like, let's skip the small talk. And so, yeah, that's really cool and definitely seems like something a storyteller would really love. Also, if your library has like book bingo or like other like fun games and things like that, I definitely would recommend that because it's just ways to get you out of your comfort zone and like just like finding things that maybe you don't even know really existed or you just didn't even think to explore. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that it gave you at least a little bit of inspiration and you have a better idea of what your play personality is and ways that you can really have fun with your with what like once you kind of know yourself, then you can really push to, you know, explore the things that you know that you're going to enjoy more and not just what you think you're supposed to do, I guess, or what everyone else is doing kind of thing, because obviously fun is very individual. So I hope that some of these things help you and also you can be more than one play personality in case I didn't say that before. I consider myself to be three: the artist, explorer, and director. Have a good week. Have some fun. I love you. See you next week. Bye.